fourth time trying this, and hopefully we've got it figured out by now. I rarely say that. I rarely do, but guys, I have to be honest. I've tried this a few times, and now we're just going to push forward. Hopefully everything works. If it doesn't work the way it's supposed to, I guess that's just how it's going to be. You know, we're just going to have to get over that. So anyway, hey everyone, this is Kevin the Apptrepreneur, and welcome to the channel. Now, for the third time, I'm going to try to explain the format of this show, and getting comfortable here, because this is going to be a long one. And, well, hopefully people will turn out. I'm going to try to delay as long as possible, but the funny thing about when you have to false start a live stream a few times, the first time you start, a lot of people show up, but then the second, third time you show up, because you had to start and reboot and whatever, nobody quite likes to show up. So we might be doing the show more or less in the dark. That said, since this is an experimental show, I guess it kind of works out that way. So anyway, what this show is going to be, and who knows if this is going to be the format for the indefinite future, I don't know. However, there is just so many stories coming on. There are stories about Uber and Lyft and shutdowns and lockdowns. In California, we've all basically been told to stay home. We've all been told to stay home. That's what we're doing. I'm doing my part. Katie's doing her part. We are going to take a hit financially for this, but you know what? It's for the greater good, and I'd rather get it done now than have this drag on. But we're going to talk about several news stories, and we might do a little bit of a chat later on. Who knows? Haven't quite gotten that far. Here's the thing. What's going to be different about this is because of how many stories I'm going to be discussing, I might not always have time to look at the chat. Therefore, if you have a question, you might want to send a super chat and include the question there, because after the thing is done, we will be looking through the chat, see if there's any super chats. I want to answer those questions. If not, you're going to have to wait till after the end of the show, especially since I know money's tight right now. However, let's start with our first news story. Fingers crossed that this actually works. If it doesn't, oh well, we're going to have to go on anyway. But Governor J.B. Pritzker is said to be issuing a lockdown order requiring resident shelter in place starting Saturday, sources say. So, this is breaking news. It hasn't even officially... The governor has not actually said this yet, but, you know, these things leak, and so far all the leaks have been fairly accurate. Anyway, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker plans to issue a shelter-in-place order for the entire state starting Saturday, essentially commanding residents to stay in their homes as officials take drastic measures to slow the spread of the virus, which we cannot talk about. It is the Voldemort of YouTube right now. Pritzker is expected to announce the directive at a 3 p.m. Friday news conference along with Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, who I believe we've actually talked about on this show because that name rings a bell. Details are still being worked out, sources said. Residents, and this is where it's important for everyone who might be in Chicago right now, can still go to the grocery stores, put gas in their cars, take walks outside, and make pharmacy runs. You can do all those things. So apparently you can still take walks. All local roads, including the interstate highways and tollways, will remain open to traffic as well. See, that's always interesting to read things like that because where I am, we have toll roads, but it's kind of like a convenience toll road. It's like, well, if you want to get there a few minutes faster, pay the toll, and you know you can go. But that being said, there are some states where toll roads are a way of life, so those will remain open. Illinois will be the second state to impose a shelter-in-place directive after California Governor Gavin Newsom issued one Thursday night. The San Francisco area was placed under one Tuesday. New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio also has told his residents to prepare for a possible order. I'm amazed he hasn't issued that order yet. Because I'm surprised New York and Washington haven't issued that order because they are like the hot spots right now in America. Like if you look at the map, like let's I'll pull it up in a minute. But if you look at the map of what's going on right now, most of the cases are like hotspots in California, Washington, New York, whatever. So anyway, let's go back over here real quick. But this is the map, and the California cases are over 1,000 right now. Deaths 21. Only 6 have recovered. Like, this is actually what's kind of scaring most people. United States cases have climbed above 16,000, and the global cases are now over 260,000. Keep in mind, that's like we had just hit like the 200,000 a day or so ago. And so here's the map. You can see the map, and look at that. Look at how the spread is over here. Now, in the middle, it's not nearly as bad, but yeah, you go over. I'm surprised. Yeah, you see these, like, this is, and even Florida. So yeah, it's spreading. It's spreading, and then you have some in Mexico, and it's, what about Canada? I'm kind of curious. So Canada has a, how did they get that? Look, one in Alaska. I think Alaska will recover fairly very quickly, but there you have it. So anyway, that's what the map is looking like right now, and as such, you have like Governor Pritzker basically, well, let's go back to what he has to say. But he had laid down the groundwork for a potential order Thursday, telling parents to prepare for the statewide school closure to extend past March 30th. Though the governor acknowledged he has discussed imposing more stringent rules on the general public, he said that no matter what he decides, interstate highways, gas stations, grocery stores, and pharmacies will remain open. I wonder where GameStop works in all of that, because GameStop is an essential business, right? Like, they say they're essential. I don't see him talking about GameStop. So anyway, he has said there is no need to run out and hoard food, gas, and medicine, but buy what you need within reason. There is enough to go around as long as you do not hoard. I do have personally a stash, but I'm not hoarding. I decided there were certain things that I just didn't want to buy because it's like I was going to buy food just for the sake of buying food. And, well, more news hit because the mayor, is this the governor? This is the governor, Andrew Cuomo, has ordered a lockdown and shut down non-essential business. So, Governor Andrew Cuomo ordered a statewide lockdown amid the worsening C virus pandemic Friday that will shut down most of the Empire State, including New York City. I want to be able to say to the people of New York, I did everything we could do, and if everything we do saves just one life, I'll be happy. The restrictions take effect Sunday night at 8 p.m., and here's what's going to happen. They're going to shut down all non-essential businesses across the state, leaving just grocery stores, pharmacies, and other essential operations open. Ban all non-solidarity outside activity like outdoor basketball games and other team sports. Require all non-essential government and provide sector employees work from home. Now, of course, the big question that a lot of you viewers are probably wondering is, when it comes to the gig economy, what does this mean? And the answer is, we don't 100% know for sure. I have said a lot, stay home. This job is not worth it. You're not even getting paid much. But some people, it's their livelihood, so I understand why that's a complicated thing. The question, but I don't know what this means when there's a full shutdown. Is Uber really essential? I mean, some people argue that it is, because it's like, oh, well, we need to get to the doctors. We need to go get our groceries. We need to go through McDonald's. However, when you look at the overall bigger picture, Uber and Lyft might not be considered essential at the end of the day, especially when they have delivery services that will bring most of these goods to you. I think it could be argued that unless they're using Uber and Lyft to go to the hospital, which, I don't think it's essential at that point. And by the way, if you limit the Uber and Lyft apps to only picking up and dropping off people who are sick, how many people are going to actually want to do Uber and Lyft? This is a very complicated matter. I believe Postmates and DoorDash and the Amazon Flex would probably be considered essential because they deliver food and supplies, so that will probably be fine. I don't think GameStop is going to fall under this essential. I mean, let's look at this again. Shut down all essential businesses, leaving just grocery stores, pharmacies, and other essential operations. Yeah, I don't see anything about GameStop. I'm giving them a hard time right now because they're extremely unpopular with what they're doing, but there you have it. So hold on one second, folks. So this is gonna be a very interesting very interesting time. Now, by the way, it should be on that note, it should be noted, I strongly disagree with drivers doing things like this. Now, this pisses me off to have to talk about. This pisses me off. I know friends who are in this group. They're not going to be happy with me right now. And hey, if they want to talk to me, I am more than happy to talk to them. But in my opinion, this was extremely, extremely foolish and stupid. Drivers decided to protest outside of Uber offices, demanding protections for sick leave and relief for gig workers under California law. Now, here's the thing. Uber and Lyft drivers and other platform workers are calling on California to enforce its new employment law as illness, confusion, and hardship from the virus sweep their industries. Worker groups are also calling for the $110 million set aside by Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, Postmates, and Instacart for fighting that law to instead be used to give workers some relief. Now, I don't have any problem with that. I actually completely agree with this. However, here's what I don't agree with. On Thursday, ride-hail drivers in California gathered outside Uber headquarters in San Francisco, Los Angeles, and San Diego to demand that gig platforms provide immediate relief to their cash-strapped, at-risk workers, including by adhering to California's new labor law known as AB 5. Members of the groups Rideshare Drivers United, who I have a great relationship with, that's why it annoys me to have to talk about this, and the Transport Workers Union held demonstrations and a press conference Thursday, standing 6 feet apart for safety. Well, I guess that's going to make everything better. Calling for increased immediate support from platform companies as well as the state government of California. Ahead of today's events, the groups also circulated a petition with a short list of asks, including immediate enforcement of AB 5 and reallocation of companies' anti-AB 5 lobbying dollars. Now, again, I don't disagree that the anti-lobbying dollars should probably be going to drivers right now. I don't disagree that they should actually be following the law that has been set. But do not, under any circumstances, gather. Don't hold press conferences. Don't do little protests. Now's not the time. You know what your job to do right now is? Your job is to stay home. Park your ass on the couch. Stay home. Don't do this. Are you serious? Like, you know what? This is why sometimes people don't take you seriously. Because, I mean, hey, look, I appreciate that you're passionate about this. I appreciate that you feel strongly about what is going on. But you know what? You do not score any brownie points by putting yourself and fellow drivers at risk. You know what? Nobody knows what's going to happen. Nobody knows what's going to happen. We don't know what the fallout's going to be. We don't know how this is all going to work out. So you know what? Yeah, it's scary. It's a shame that you relied on this platform and now you're getting screwed. Guess what? A lot of people are getting screwed right now. Now's not the time to protest. If you're going to make complaints, write your letters, do what you need to, but don't gather in a large crowd and put people together. You are being called, and it's amazing because this was in San Francisco, and San Francisco was the first city to be on lockdown, and you're getting out and you're huddling in front of an office. Guys, I've been on the street that Uber is at. Staying 6 feet apart is difficult, and in fact, most of the time when you look at the pictures of the 6 feet apart thing, like, it's just, no. It's absolutely not. I just realized I didn't have the news article there. I guess we'll kind of fix that, just so you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, no, this is incredibly stupid. This is incredibly stupid. I can't believe that they did this. I absolutely cannot believe that they did this. This was not smart. This was not wise. And if more people, like, we need to stop the spread of this thing. You got to stay home. And hey, you're hurting. I understand it. I feel you. I'm hurting too. Guess what? You stay home. In fact, let's bring it a little personal right now. Let me let me look something up real quick so that there's only like 17 people. Hey, if any 17 people want to like give this a thumbs up, feel free to do so. This is the damage that that unfortunately doing having like a false start can have. Let me, because I didn't plan to use this person as a answer, in this, but but yeah, you want to know how serious it is? Look at this. Bam Bam is sick now. I mean, interestingly, he did not get tested for the virus. From, if I understood his video correctly, he did not get tested. But look, it can hit you. You can get sick. I don't know if he has it. He didn't get tested for it. But let's say he does have it, and he continues to drive. He's going to infect a lot of people. This is why we're telling you to stay home. Now, Bam Bam, I know you and me have our disagreements. We have a lot of disagreements. I hope you get better. I sincerely hope you get better. But don't think it can't hit you. Like, if you drive, you're way more at risk than anyone. And what's worse, if you catch it, you are going to spread it way more than most. So this is one of the reasons I've been telling people, don't, stay home. Just stay home. It's not worth it. And for them to have done this, for them to have protested, knowing that there are drivers getting sick out there, that was extremely irresponsible and extremely stupid of them. And I've got nothing but negative things to say about this. I know they're hurting. We're all hurting. We need to band together and not go anywhere. Buy your food, go home, bunker down. Just bunker down. By the way, this is being felt more than just America too, because Uber actually has suspended their service in Saudi Arabia until further notice. So let's look at this one. Uber Taxi suspended its operations in Saudi Arabia until further notice due to measures announced by Interior Ministry, a company statement said on Friday. Saudi Arabia has suspended taxi services as a precautionary measure to prevent the spread of the C virus. As per the measures announced by the Ministry of Interior, we are suspending Uber Taxi in the kingdom until further notice, an Uber spokesman told Reuters. That's it. So Uber has been suspended in Saudi Arabia, and I think this is going to be the first of many such suspensions. I believe that other countries will follow suit. Uber is going to have to turn off their app. I keep wondering why they haven't turned it off yet, but the answer is pretty obvious. It's because they need the money. They need to keep this going as long as they possibly can, because they're hurting. Look, we're all hurting. It's a shame that it's hurting as much as we are. But we all need to stay indoors, and I think this is going to come. At one point, the choice might be made for us. Look, if you're driving in New York, Illinois, California, your decision has pretty much been made for you. You've been told basically to stay home. If you want to do food delivery, and there's a Postmates referral link below, I don't recommend it, but if you want to try it, there, go ahead. But I don't recommend any of it. I think eventually the choice will be made for us. And let's see. Now then, there is another question that now we have to discuss, because the reason a lot of people won't stop driving rideshare is because of evictions. The rent doesn't care about the viruses. The rent does not care that you are going to be having a hard time paying your bills. They just do not care. So, what do they recommend you do? What do they recommend you do? Well, we had talked a little bit about how, at least in California, evictions were going to be halted. You couldn't be evicted from your house. However, apparently, and this is kind of breaking, like, there's so much changing so fast. that halting evictions might not be as nationwide as we thought. So here's the thing. On the day after the C virus outbreak was declared a global pandemic, Joe Ferguson was given a batch of court-ordered evictions to carry out in his job as constable in Tustin, Arizona. He knocked on doors in the majority of Hispanic community of South Tuscan. He told residents to gather personal effects, clothing, medications, and pets and watch some families become homeless. Ferguson said he strongly opposed the evictions, with the Arizona court system requiring him to toss people out of their homes, even as the nation was going into a deeper state of lockdown and panic over the C virus. Quote, to serve the best interests of the entire community while we're all facing a public health epidemic, we should allow people to stay in their homes so that we don't stress our shelters, our hospitals, and our first responders. Then on Wednesday, President Donald Trump announced a proposed $1.5 trillion package that he said includes immediate relief to renters and homeowners by suspending evictions and foreclosure for 60 days. Here's the catch. It turns out the vast majority of renters will not be covered by the protection. This is where it gets scary. So, that's because the Department of Housing and Urban Development's plan only covers single-family homes with loans through the Federal Housing Administration, roughly 8 million homeowners, most of whom are not under foreclosure, according to HUD. That compares to the roughly 43 million households who rented in 2019, according to the U.S. Census. Roughly half rent their homes from an individual investor, while the other half rents from a business or multi-unit property owner. The ones renting from a business will not receive any protections, according to HUD's proposal. That's a lot of people. While housing advocates praised the Trump administration package as an important first step, and I believe it will just be a first step. I mean, it's not like everything that's signed today is going to be the only word on the matter. There's going to be more things signed. There's going to be more stimuli. There's going to be more news stories breaking. But they said that by excluding renters, an often economically vulnerable population, it does not go nearly far enough. Susanna Blakely, coordinator of the Right to Counsel NYC Coalition, said she's concerned for renters and others who won't be covered by Trump's moratorium. Quote, it will help a lot of people, but it's a very limited subset. It's not nearly enough. We need big-scale solutions. And I agree. So here's where it gets scary, is that we have a situation where you should stay home. Some people say they can't afford to stay home. But then they go out and they get sick, then they have to stay home. Or the state goes on lockdown and there's still a lot of question marks whether or not you're allowed to continue to do this. And you have rent to pay. Now, I will say one thing about the situation that's been kind of curious to me, and I think we're going to have to be talking about it a lot more, maybe in a podcast. I think the monthly rideshare podcast will probably be having a few more episodes than it usually does. However, I am kind of curious about, what about the people who do this for a living, who's done it for years? Some people do it for maybe a couple $1,000s a month, and that's admirable. But a lot of them are not ceasing to drive. They say, hey, I need to do this, I need to make money. And it's like, well, don't you have a slush fund? Like, why don't you have anything saved? Like, does rideshare does the $2,000 a month not afford any liberties to save? Like, are the expenses that high? I mean, why is it that the people who are doing this for a living, who like brag about the thousands of dollars they're making a month, why do they not have a slush fund prepared? And why can they not take a couple months off? Granted, it sucks. It sucks to go into your piggy bank. We're probably going to have to go into our piggy bank. That wedding money that we got, that we were saving for the house, that's probably going to be gone by the time this is all over. Trust me, I know. I'm in this boat with all of you, but I think it might highlight just how unstable this really is. That no matter how much you do, the expenses are just too much. And when they are too much, you can't pay your rent, you can't save, you can't do any of that. So this is unfortunate. This is extremely unfortunate. Let's see here. Let's look at one comment real quick. We're getting we're getting income packages in Canada for gig workers and self-employed. Otherwise, our employment insurance takes care of people. Mortgages are being delayed, and hopefully rent as well. I think that's what America is trying to do at the time being. They're trying to get that going at this point, but we don't really know exactly the extent of how it's going to help or what's going to happen. By the way, I see 25 people in the room. Hey, you want to give us a thumbs up? Please do. Let me know if you like how the format's been working so far. It seems to be working fine. But there you go. Now, let's switch the topic just a little bit because a lot of people right now are, well, watching YouTube and Netflix and stuff like that because what else can you do? I mean, I have a massive disc collection, so I'm actually taking the opportunity to watch a lot of discs. I'm taking a lot of use of my high definition television. But a lot of people are now indoors, and a question mark that has come up is as people stay indoors and they stream 4K, they're finding that the internet is not strong enough to hold all these people. And so, like, I know the EU has actually asked Netflix to not only disable the 4K streaming, but to curb the streaming quality by 25%, which Netflix has agreed to do. Well, Amazon and YouTube have also decided to join that commitment. So, anyway, let's look at this. Amazon is joining Netflix, and Alphabet's YouTube is slowing down the speed of streaming in Europe amid huge demand. Millions of people around the world sheltering in place due to the virus is taxing broadband networks around Europe. That is prompting the nation's largest streaming services to slow down speeds to prevent the internet from collapsing from all the demand. Netflix and YouTube said the actions will impact European users for the next 30 days. It's not clear if similar steps will be needed in the U.S. I believe it will be. I just believe it will be. Now, the reason I think this hasn't been brought up in the U.S. so far, to be perfectly frank, is because a lot of people are on spring break. Now, I know some of you are going like, what spring break? That shouldn't have anything to do with this. I mean, people should be staying home. Yeah, they should. They should be staying home. But they're not. They're not. They're going to the beach. They're saying, I don't care if I get the virus. I don't care if I get sick. And, like, I guess I don't care if they pass it along to anyone else either. I think there's a fair amount of people in America who are still in denial about what's going on. And I'm still seeing comments in the comment section like the flu kills more people. That's honestly not the point. Yeah, the flu kills more people. It's been around a lot longer. But this could kill way more people, especially at the rate people are getting infected with it. So I think there's just a lot of people in denial, and they're not staying home. They're not self-quarantining. Now, once I think it starts really sinking in, once the whole nation goes under lockdown, I'm not for martial law. I think putting things on lockdown and just forcing some businesses to have to shutter and then helping those businesses out with a little bit of cash, that might, until this gets all settled, that might be where we have to go. I don't believe in bringing out the National Guard or anything, but who knows what we're going to have to do. But a lot of people are in denial, and they're just not staying home. And so I believe the internet usage has increased quite a bit. It's going to increase a lot more. And when that happens, guess what? We're going to have to see Netflix and Amazon cut down the speeds here too. Now, I am doing my part. I am actually trying to avoid streaming when possible. Like, there's a lot of physical media that I have that I've never opened, way more than I care to admit. And so I'm going to be watching movies and shows that I have never gotten around to that I own. And I'm going to be doing my part to slow down on using bandwidth. I did want to try the Phantasy Star Online version 2 online game. I'm probably not going to do that until this is all blown over or very late into the game. I will be downloading games through Game Pass, but it's bad when even Amazon and Netflix are saying, yeah, we gotta scale this back just a little bit. So it's kind of funny to think that, yeah, the one thing that we're all going to be doing right now, we have to be careful about because, it's too much of a strain on the internet. So, Daniel says, thumbs up, great new format. Well, thank you. And Judy says, staying home unless going out for essentials. Rideshare seems very risky, although I am in need of the income. And Sleeping Elephant says, the storm will come harder because of these idiots. Yes, the storm could come harder because of these idiots. Now, let's talk about one more story relating to the virus. And then we're going to do two stories that are not related to the virus because I think if we do nothing but talk about this pandemic all the time, we're going to go nuts. But there is some concern about who's going to survive this. Are the theaters going to close permanently? How many local businesses are going to go under? This is all scary stuff. And, well, Kramer is worrying that post this stuff happening, the U.S. could have just 3 retailers: Amazon, Walmart, and Costco. Now, this guy is a very, Jim Cramer, he's a very popular analyst. He doesn't get everything wrong. In fact, I actually would go as far to say, like, I don't think he's the most reliable financial analyst. He's just one of the most prolific. But it should be noted, he does say that he fears that this pandemic halt in the economy could leave the U.S. with only 3 retailers after the crisis. He's quoted saying, "If we come out of this sooner, then other small businesses can open. If we come out of this later, there are going to be 3 retailers in this country. There's going to be Amazon, there's going to be Walmart, there's going to be Costco. That is something that the government cannot afford to have happen." And I agree with that. And by the way, because they cannot afford to have that happen, I believe that's why it will not happen. There will be stimulus in place. Like, look at those lines at Costco. This is just absolutely crazy. We're living through history, folks. We're living through history right now. But I believe because of that, the government will not let some of these smaller retailers to fail. They won't. I think they will do what they can to keep things going. But it is a big concern because these are the company. Now, I never thought that Costco had necessarily that much capital to survive a pandemic. However, their sales are going up so high, I could see them easily having that cash. Walmart and Amazon makes a lot of sense, especially Amazon, because people are ordering on Amazon more than ever. Heck, I've ordered a few things on Amazon. I didn't like doing it. I didn't really want to, but I did. Now, I'm still trying to order from other companies, but their shipping speeds are so much slower. It's one of the few times where I'm happy Amazon exists, but then it kind of confirms my fear that, yeah, this is why you didn't want one company to have this much power. Now, that one I'm just bringing up as kind of like a mild curiosity thing. I don't believe that there's only going to be 3 companies when this is all said and done. I don't. I think the companies will survive. I believe the government will help them out. And again, if we all stay indoors, we will get through this sooner rather than later. And the sooner we get through this, the sooner we can start to rebound. So, oh hey, Steven's here. How you doing? And Sleeping Elephant says, "I learned from Kramer, good for beginners." Yep, I agree. Good for beginners. So anyway, let's talk about a couple stories that are not C virus related. One of them is going to be Uber related, but we're actually going to start with a Apple and Microsoft story, where Apple finally admits that Microsoft was right about tablets. I mean, granted, we're all being humble during this whole thing, but this is especially interesting because Apple never admits Microsoft is right about anything. So Apple has spent the last 10 years trying to convince everyone that the iPad and its vision of touch-friendly computer is the future. The iPad rejected the idea of a keyboard, a trackpad, or even a stylus, and Apple mocked Microsoft for taking that exact approach with the Surface. By the way, full disclosure, that's why I am a Surface person. I own an iPad now because my wife has one, but I've never been interested in an iPad because I always look at the iPad and I'm like, well, that's great, but what can I do with it? Like, what could I do with it? I didn't see the iPad as having any useful function. I saw the Surface with its kickstand and its keyboard, and it's like, okay, that I can do with. That's a workstation. That is a portable workstation for me, and I've been using a Surface ever since. And then the funny thing is, Apple users actually mocked me, like, well, you can get add-ons for the iPads. Like, yeah, but it comes built in. And then when the Apple Pro came out and included all the things that the Surface did, guess what? It was the most genius thing ever. But Apple never admitted that Microsoft came up with that. They said, hey, look at what we're doing. Well, they have officially acknowledging it. Because CEO Tim Cook said, our competition is different. They're confused. Well, this is what he said 6 years ago. They chased after netbooks, and now they're trying to make PCs into tablets and tablets into PC. Who knows what they will do next? So where's what they say? But here's the thing. But here's the thing. Now Apple is making iPad Pros with styluses and all that jazz. So here's what Cook has said now. Like we're anything can be forced to converge, but the problem is that products are about trade-offs, and you begin to make trade-offs to the point where what you have left doesn't please anyone. You can converge a toaster and a refrigerator, but those things are probably not going to be pleasing to the user. He was adamant that they wouldn't be doing this thing, but um, you know, anyway, I don't know where I was going with this. I kind of lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. I don't know why I had a brain fart there. So, you know what? Hey, it's live. We're just gonna cut that one short. We're gonna cut that one. We're gonna cut that one extremely short. So sorry about that. Anyway, let's wrap this up. And I'm thinking tomorrow we'll have a much more successful live stream than this. But here's the final story we'll talk about today. And that is, and granted, this happened like a week ago, but I kind of overlooked it. But Anthony Lewandowski, the former head of the Uber self-driving car division, agrees to a plea deal over Google secrets. So he is known for advocating self-driving car technology in the last decade, and he's agreed to plead guilty on Thursday to taking sensitive documents from his former employer, Google, before joining rival Uber Technologies, Inc. Federal prosecutors agreed to recommend a prison term of no more than 30 months as part of the plea agreement in one of the most well-known corporate disputes in recent Silicon Valley history. Quote, "We hope that this plea will allow him to move on with his life and focus his energies where they matter most." So, yeah, Anthony Lewandowski, he's going to jail. And I think I'm going to have to end this soon because I'm not used to talking this long. So I think the format was largely successful. It's a shame no one was really watching, but again, that was because of some false starts. And what happens, just to kind of let everyone know, is if you start a live stream and then it doesn't work out and you stop it and you restart it, they've already sent out the notification to people that there's a live stream. They don't send the next one out. You're pretty much allowed one live stream notification a day for the most part. And that's what happened. But hey, as a test run, I think this was a success. So, there you go. Anyway, we're going to end this right now. There was no super chats and thus really no questions. Don't ask me questions about landlords, by the way. I don't know what landlords are going to do, so there you go. Anyway, we're going to end this right now. Thank you for joining me on this little test run thing. We're going to be much better prepared tomorrow. Heck, we might even private this video. This will just be like a strictly testing. I don't know. We'll decide. But anyway, I'd like to know what you think about this. If we leave this up, comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe, and as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one.